So when someone comes to me and they go, I'm hopeless, I've been struggling for 10, 20 years, I need to adamantly tell your audience this right now. There are only two reasons, one of two or both reasons why you are suffering or have suffered for a long time. Number one, you're dealing with an uninformed doctor that does not know how to test, assess, and treat you to help you. Number two, and this is a harsh one, it's the worst one, you're uninformed. You don't know about your disease, and I didn't either. And that's why I suffered for 2 years of my life. And that's why you've suffered for 10 or 20. It can end quickly. You have to learn it.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. All right, loves, I'm going to keep this intro short and quick because our episode is full of information to support you and your thyroid. I have Elle Russ back. You guys loved her. We got so much love from her confidence podcast, and we had mentioned that she is an amazing thyroid expert. She has a book, she has a course, she has all these things. And so today is whole episode is to support you if you have felt like you're unseen, unheard when it comes to your thyroid. Maybe you're on thyroid medication and you still don't feel optimal. So you're not crazy. You are not. You are absolutely somebody who is looking for information, and unfortunately not all of your doctors are as informed. So this episode is here to arm you with the tools you need, the evidence you might need to go into the doctor or provider that you have to support you on your journey, and also all the free and amazing tools that Elle has. She's got a book, she's got a course, and she's got free tools, and all of that is at the end. So take a listen and let me know how this goes in your body and in your life. Tag the Be It Pod, and until next time, be it till you see it. All right, Be It Babe. I'm so excited. We actually have a guest back. We had so much love. We had so much love pour in for this woman and at the end of the episode, we got into thyroid. And we didn't have time to get to that. So we had to bring her back to talk about thyroidism and all the things. She's the expert in it. So she's going to use all the right words. But Elle Russ, will you tell everyone who you are in case it's their first time hearing your name on the show and what you're rocking at?
Yeah. Hey, so I'm rocking at a couple of things. Life in general. My name is Elle Russ, and I am a #1 best-selling author. The first book I wrote is called The Paleo Thyroid Solution, and I've been coaching people all over the world for over a decade in solving thyroid issues. And I also have a really in-depth course on it, a free masterclass, which we'll get into later. And then my second book is Confident as F-U-C-K. And so that I know you swear, but whatever, just in case. And so we talked about confidence and stuff last time, which is great, and something I know you are just such a firecracker inspiration on that side of things too for people. And then I have more books and more courses coming out. It's endless amounts of, wonderful things. But that's how I got into it, because I suffered and no one could help me. And I live in Los Angeles, and I went to over 24 endocrinologists and experts, and nobody helped me. They misdiagnosed me and they steered me wrong. And so I had to become my own thyroid expert. By the way, I have a philosophy degree. Okay. So you're talking to someone here who hates math and science. If you ask me what 15% of $70 is, I'm like, I don't know. Can someone get a calculator? I don't like it. I was horrible at it in school. Teachers would be like, "Oh, you'll be sweeping floors at a amusement park if you don't get math and science right." And then I write a best-selling book on science. So everyone can F off from grade school on that one, all the teachers. But the truth is that you don't need to be an MD and have organic chemistry problem solvability, abilities. You don't have to take the, MCATs to be able to understand on a theoretical level how this works. This is actually quite easy, but it's confusing at first. And there's so much misinformation out there. So 200 million people in the world have this, 200 million plus people.
That's 25
million. Yeah. Well, it gets worse. 25 million plus Americans have it. It used to be 10 years ago, it was the #1 prescription in America. Now the #1 prescriptions in America are all based on autoimmune disorders, not a shocker. And 60% are undiagnosed. So it's there's so many more people suffering. Now there's the other situation, and this might be some people listening. You're on thyroid hormone replacement, but you never felt great and you don't feel right. You can be hypothyroid, on thyroid hormone replacement. It means that you are not on the correct amounts or dosages, etc. And I'm going to say one more thing here, which is before I got this, I'll just go on. I don't want to lecture the whole time, but the thyroid, which is your gland right here in your neck, if you're a man, it's below your Adam's apple, is a butterfly-shaped gland, and it is responsible for everything. Okay. It's the master gland for a reason. It's responsible for the production and regulation of all of your sex hormones. So you're 30, hormones are off, and your doctor's like, oh, we need to give you progesterone. You have estrogen dominance. Da, da, da. Check the fucking thyroid. Okay. That was my first symptom. I started bleeding all the time at age 30. I have perfect gynecological history in my own life and also in all the women in my life, like my family.
Yeah.
Okay. No one asked the question, why is she bleeding every 2 weeks at 30 years old?
That's crazy.
Instead, they gave me a birth control pill to patch the symptom of the thing they didn't find the root of. So you have to always check the thyroid. So not only production and regulation of all your sex hormones, which is everything, right? I mean, your heart rate, high. Yeah, that's everything. Your blood pressure and your body temperature. And so, these things are all very important, right? To regulate who we are. We are not too hot, not too cold. If you're too hot, let's say, right, you're hyperthyroid. But the predominant issue is hypothyroidism, Graves' disease, and or hyperthyroidism. The overactive is less common, okay? And it disproportionately affects women. We're talking 1 in 8 women in their lifetime will have a thyroid issue.
This is insane. I have to say, because I have had many people tell me they're getting their thyroid removed, and I'm like, that can't be, like, that's a big decision. I feel like that's a big decision to remove it.
You want to keep the gland if you can. So the times that so here's the thing. The times that it is, and people with thyroid cancer would hate that I say this, because people with thyroid cancer, they're always told, oh, it's the best cancer to have. If you catch it, you just take out the gland, right? You're good. If it spreads, different story, but if you catch it soon enough. And they're always like, I'm tired of hearing that it's the best cancer, but technically it really is. So in the case of thyroid cancer, they just remove the gland, which then makes you hypothyroid, and now you have to go on thyroid hormone replacement. The other thing that they do, sometimes they'll remove half a thyroid. Yeah, okay, that's probably going to need some help too.
Yeah.
All right. And then you also have a situation where people who had uncontrollable hyperthyroidism, okay, which can lead to heart attacks, and if it can't be controlled through meds or diet or other things, eventually what they do is they go, you know what? We have to basically blast your thyroid with radioactive iodine to kind of kill it. Again, making you hypothyroid, much safer. Okay. But now you are also in my world. Now you're going to have to be on thyroid hormone replacement for the rest of your life. And you have to be. So if you have your thyroid removed, and let's say you're because it's the master gland in control of all of these things. All right. If you're on a stranded island and you don't have a thyroid gland and you don't have your medication, you're going to be the first one to die.
This is so crazy. This is so, because
so what do you think life's going to be like if you have subpar or, really bad levels of thyroid? It's a slow death, and that's what it feels like. It's accelerated glycation and aging. It's horrible. And then you have all these things that happen, and doctors like, oh, you got depression. Here we go. And they're trying to patch this stuff. And so here's the thing. It's not just the master for these hormones and the hormone problem, and they do the wrong thing. Now you're depressed. They go, well, it's not your thyroid because they're not testing it right because they don't know what's up. And then you go to the therapist and they go, we'll give you Prozac. It'll last for 3 months and then it won't work because you never got to the root of the problem. We have more receptors in our brain for the biologically active hormone than anywhere else. You can treat depression. I've been coaching for 10 years. When anyone starts to get better because they're getting more levels of T3, the active hormone, they'll call me and be like, did this shit make you happy? And I'm like, yeah, it does, because you cannot access happiness when you are hypothyroid. You literally cannot. It would mean nothing to say to someone like, well, try to think of a happy thought. You can't do it. So again, have you gone to a psychiatrist? I asked the head of a LA psychiatric hospital, hey, before you put people on, SSRIs and medication, do you check their thyroid? They don't.
This is definitely something like, for sure in the States, it's like, oh, you have these symptoms, let's fix this problem, but they're not looking at the root of the problem. They're not going higher up the chain. It's kind of like when someone, I was in a yoga class and the person was saying that their shoulder hurt in the front, and the yoga teacher said the problem is in the back. And he's like, look, the problem that is causing where the pain is not where the problem is. The pain is just like, hello, you're not listening to me for a long time. And so now I'm down here, but the problem is further down the chain or up the chain. And we tend to focus on, no, my knee hurts, so I go to the knee doctor. I'm bleeding too much, so I go to the gynecologist. And it's unfortunate that the medical world is so siloed, because it would be nice if somebody knew it all.
You really have to find like a DO or a functional medicine doctor that takes insurance. And if not, you have to go above and beyond and pay for it.
Yeah.
If you go to your regular insurance doctor down the street, you're looking for a prescription or surgery. They don't really have anything for you. They have 10 minutes. They're dictated by insurance companies. They practice medicine under the guise of saving money for everyone else and also the fear of getting sued.
Yeah.
When you have your own practice as a doctor, you don't operate that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, I'm not beholden to anybody and I don't have to worry about like, right. So,
So real quick though, just in case anybody is like, how do I know if if I'm hypothyroid? Like what are just like signs, symptoms that could be?
sure. So I'll give the test that you can take, and also have a free thyroid masterclass, which has all this stuff in there. Okay. So the main symptom, all right, like one of the main symptoms, there's like 30, 40 that I listed in my book and I had 30 of them. Okay. Like I had almost all they're
Overachiever over here, Elle.
yeah, exactly. Real long list, but it would start with you're exhausted and you have the inability to lose weight no matter what you do. Now, for the people that don't have the weight issue, it's going to be exhaustion, brain fog, and you will have issues like constipation, gut digestion. You will be freezing. What do I mean by this? Look, your hands and feet are always cool, usually, right? Like, I'm not saying you need to have hot hands and feet, but if you're the person that's always freezing all the time, and here's the thing, my hands and feet are cool right now. I'm not cold inside. If I took my temp, it's fine. You feel the chill. You're freezing all the time. So, for example, when I was hypothyroid, my body never got above 96 freaking degrees in the middle of summer. I was wearing socks to bed. I was freezing. 96 degrees. We're supposed to be 98.6 in like 3 in the afternoon. Okay. In the morning, it's different. We're supposed to be maybe between 97.7 and 98.2. I was never above 96. So you're freezing all the time and it's diagnostically, you can tell. You just take a temp. So you're freezing all the time. Dry, cracked skin, hair falling out, losing the outer eyebrows, curly hair turning straight, just clumps of hair falling out. This is one of the biggest things everyone notices. Horrible constipation that no amount of coffee, colonics, and laxatives will help you with. That's a horrible, frustrating symptom. I'm just going to tell you that right now because I tried all those things and nothing. Meanwhile, you just keep getting fatter and fatter, more bloated and more bloated. And so the brain fog part, the only way I can describe it, and it's the easiest way to describe it, everyone in the world has had a head cold, right? When you're blowing, you're like, where's it all coming from? How is it all day long, right? That day when you're just like staring into space, nothing's fun, nothing's interesting, your brain not working, you don't want to watch a movie. That's brain fog, except you don't have the stuffiness. And how horrible does everyone knows how that, even you know how that feels, Lesley.
Yeah.
You've been there. That day, that moment, you're just like brain dead. You're freaking brain dead. That's like 24/7. The other thing too is that it takes you like 2-3 hours to get out of bed. You have almost no cortisol because when you have your adrenals will ultimately fail. And because people go undiagnosed for so long, they get really bad. Usually people don't catch it and fix it when they feel the cold, right? If you were able to catch it right there or on the first couple of symptoms or God, I've been exhausted then great. But it goes on. And as it goes on, your body's like, this bitch needs energy. So the cortisol gets pumped out, you get fatter around the middle, and now your adrenals are fatigued and you've got adrenal fatigue too. But the adrenals, in order to produce cortisol, need T3. Okay, so this thing's going in. Sometimes you have a doctor trying to treat the adrenal disorder and you're like, dude, let's get with the program.
And T3 is just the hormone that we're talking about, the thyroid hormone.
It's the biologically active thyroid hormone. And I'm happy to get into the others because it's not something you take necessarily directly. I do, but some people do a combination of T4 and T3, but it's the active hormone, where T4 is the storage hormone. It's the thing that it's like a slow release mechanism. It stores up, and as you need it, it converts into the gasoline that you need, right? So there are so many problems that can stem from this. Also, infertility, miscarriages. So lots of people have had hysterectomies unnecessarily. By the way, that's always a terrible call when the person has realized that they never needed to have a hysterectomy. And that is a Hashimoto's success story in my course. Barbara, she had that happen to her and she desperately had wanted kids back then. She's now 57. She's over it. But these are hard days, man. My friend came home. She had 2 miscarriages. She had an endocrinologist completely testing the wrong test, discounting her. She's getting fat. All these things are happening and she's depressed. She's got 2 miscarriages. And you know what? It was all a result of hypothyroidism. So if you can plan a pregnancy, you must don't head towards an unnecessary miscarriage you don't need to have.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't plan it, okay, then get on it right away, because when you are pregnant, and I have articles about this on my blog, on my website, you can just type in thyroid on the blog and a ton will come up. But when you're pregnant, you now need more.
Right.
Because the demands of the fetus, everything else, you might need more and more and more. And then at the end, you kind of taper off, or, but you have to check it more often. So if you haven't checked your thyroid yet, you're having a great pregnancy, you're probably fine. But you're probably also like, oh, no, my OBGYN tested my thyroid and they're not doing it right. Okay, that's what I'm here to tell you. And they're not doing it right. So this is one of the easiest, quickest things to fix in life. Yet 99% of the doctors are uninformed and they're steeped in 40-year-old outdated protocols and taking tests that don't matter. And so, yeah, so that's where
I was just saying, like, so if like we know that because I help the listeners who've listened to episodes before, like I ended up having to fly to LA to have my holistic doctor do my blood draw because I tried twice to do it here. And like, they sent it in without spinning it. I'm like, sorry, that's the job you do. Like, that's literally your job. I'm so sorry. It's like you do two things. You draw the blood, you spin the blood. Your only
job. Yeah. So two things of your job. Yeah.
I don't understand. I could have like probably figured out how to draw my own blood if I need the spinner. So
I could have learned in the amount of time that it took.
Right. So for sure, like it is not. I've experienced how inept people can be. If we're like, is this a test that we can get done ourselves? Like, can we order it online ourselves?
Yes, you can, depending on what state you're in. Okay. So some states don't allow you to test your own blood work. A lot of them are on the East Coast, but you have to just check. So California, I live in California. I can check my blood work anytime I want. You can go to privatemdlabs.com. You can go to directlabs.com, and they always have like coupon codes somewhere online. So just search for them because they often have a 15% off or something. And you could choose your own test that you want. But what I want to tell everyone now, and again, this is all in the stuff that I have for free on my website, but just if anyone's listening right now, whether you're on thyroid hormone right now, I need you to go back at some point after this and you need to look at your labs, okay? And if your doctor never or doesn't currently test what I'm about to tell you, unfortunately, you're dealing with an uninformed doctor. And you're going to probably run into some issues if you're not already in the issues. Or you're one of those people who keeps complaining to your doctor about depression, and then they're the dum-dum that goes, oh, well, yeah, you have a thyroid problem. No, because if you had treated me right and I was optimized, I wouldn't have the depression part of the problem. I wouldn't have any symptoms. Zero.
Got it. So
the whole point of getting optimized or treated on thyroid hormone replacement, by the way, you can do all this naturally. My book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution, is all about, hey, man, fix this shit first naturally. And if you can't, at least you've primed your body to receive the hormones so they can be metabolized properly. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. I love this because it is, I just want to highlight you're saying this because I do think a lot of people like, oh, I'm on hypothyroid medication. That's why I feel this way. It's like, well, actually, you're on hypothyroid medication because you need to be, and you could be feeling like a person who's not on it, who has normal levels. That's what you're saying.
That is literally achievable for every single person who has any thyroid problem. That's amazing. They're all fixable and they're all solvable. So when someone comes to me and they go, I'm hopeless, I've been struggling for 10, 20 years. I need to adamantly tell your audience this right now. There are only two reasons, one of two or both reasons why you are suffering or have suffered for a long time. Number one, you're dealing with an uninformed doctor that does not know how to test, assess, and treat you to help you. Number two, and this is a harsh one, it's the worst one, you're uninformed. You don't know about your disease, and I didn't either. And that's why I suffered for 2 years of my life, and that's why you've suffered for 10 or 20. It can end quickly. You have to learn it. I didn't want to learn this shit, Leslie. Are you kidding me? I did not.
You're like, I went to philosophy. I wanted to talk about why do people do what they do that way?
Yeah. And then I became a comedy writer. I was like, I don't want to, I'm not a health person. I don't want to, no. So you know what? I wouldn't be alive right now if I didn't do this myself. Now, my story is that unfortunately I had to doctor myself. I actually didn't have a doctor to help me. I ordered my medication online from places like Cambodia, and no, for real, like Thailand and other places. And I dosed myself. I actually did it myself. So I had to do it twice in 10 years because I ran into a second thyroid problem, which probably in hindsight makes it great because I'm one of only 2 authors or 3 people in the world really like that do this that have ever had that problem and know how to treat it. It's called the reverse T3 issue. So I had 2 hypothyroidism issues in 10 years. And both times I was left in the dust, yo. I remember I was in LA. I went to this doctor who literally is currently the doctor for so many famous celebrities. I won't mention them. Crazy time celebrities that you all would be like, Oh my God. Well, of course I would go to so-and-so's doctor. Okay. That doctor. I was having this second problem. I learned what it is. I explained it, showed her the evidence, and I took off my clothes in front of her. Now, at this time, I had gotten so fat again on thyroid hormone replacement, but so hypothyroid. I had gotten so fat again that my bra looked like something a Playboy bunny would wear, where it's just like the tiny triangle on the nipple, you know? That's how fat I had gotten, that like the bra. And I said, "Look at me. Like, look at me." And da da da. And she literally, this doctor I'm telling you about, who's like famous, has like threw up her hands and she said, "Oh, well, it's too complicated."
What?
And you know what? It almost makes me want to cry because how, and I said to her, this is what I did say to her. I was so pissed. I said, "So medical school wasn't complicated? So doing organic chemistry, like problems on the MCATs, what medical school, this is complicated, not even willing to go find, search, help, nothing."
That's so
And I
infuriating,
ended up
and
thinking,
I do
I
wanna
know,
cry for you, like, that's we've had,
terrible.
several episodes about advocating for yourself in the healthcare industry
Yes.
because and the reason we're talking about this is, like, you can have all the goals in the fucking world. You could have listened to Elle's confidence episode, like, "Yes, I got it, this is what I know I want," but if your hormones are off, if your thyroid is not working optimally, it doesn't matter. It
No,
doesn't
it doesn't.
matter.
And your brain's not right, and your emotions aren't right, and nothing's going to be right.
You
This
can't do it. Yeah.
you can't do life right. And so what happens is so, and I have a chapter in my book and even a module in my course about loved ones. This is what's really tough because of all the undiagnosis, because of the people not being mistreated. So even the ones that are hypo, still on medication, they've got a spouse who's like, "This is not who I married." You're a downer, you're a Debbie Downer, you're a party pooper, you got problems, you got adrenal issues, you're like sensitive to lights, sounds, and smells, you're overwhelmed. I mean, you have no energy, you have no zest for life, you've given up on half the shit you thought was kind of fun and you wanted to go for in life. This is how it goes. Also, I want to mention one of the symptoms. You can have some cognitive decline that seems scary and something you don't want to voice. So I want to say it now. You will have the thought that you feel you're getting dumber, and it is a horrible feeling because technically you are. I mean, it's happening. You'll have handwriting that you can't, it's so messy. You'll have brain to hand dexterity. Normally, like I'm an athlete, I'm really coordinated. I was dropping water, bumping into things constantly. Okay. Because again, we have more receptors in our brain than anywhere else. These things are all motor skills, all the things. So, it's a really scary thing. It's not just the depression, it's the forgetting words. It's the not being able to retain a paragraph after you've read it. Someone has said something to you. I just interviewed recently. I put an extra module in my course with CJ Hunt. He's the about 70 years old, but he's a filmmaker of The Perfect Human Diet and the book. And I helped him with his thyroid problem. And he describes it as like, it's just so tough because you're inside and you can't even like check an email. He's just so
Yeah.
overwhelmed. So you have this malaise where you need to help yourself, but you're also kind of having problems. And the people around you are like, "You've gone to 500 doctors and blah, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No,
And
I
I had a friend, this does tear me up. I have a friend who's still a really good friend now, but when they lived here, we were best friends. And they called me up after this all happened and everything. I got over it and I figured it out. They called me up and they were crying, a guy. And he was like, "Elle, I am so sorry because I was so resenting you and mad at you that you were such a party pooper. And you never wanted to go out. And you didn't want to hang out and do stuff and like all that shit." And I
mhm.
just like lost it because you know what? That's what it is for people. That's how it goes down. People around you don't understand. And you're trying and you're going to everyone. And then that's what happens. And then people lose their jobs or they quit. I had someone who's a success story in my book. She quit her job as an accountant. She couldn't remember numbers anymore. She
Yeah.
thought, "I'm going to get fired." You know, a fellow author, Paul Robinson, who wrote a book called Recovering with T3, he also helped me save my own life. He, to this day, he lost like 20 years of his life. He actually was given the wrong hormone the entire time. And he lost his family. He lost his job. He couldn't work. He was debilitated. And then he fixed it, of course. And I wrote a book. He's helping people, but it ruined the relationship with his sons. And you can still tell to this day when he talks about it that it is so hard for him.
Yeah. It's like it's a wound
So
that
it
won't heal.
ruins
Yeah.
lives. This shit ruins lives because of all of these things. And I've coached lots of families. And sometimes if you're in this situation, you might need a friend to kind of like who has a better brain to help you understand. But the way that I explain everything in the course and in general, my master classes, again, if you kept it on repeat, even with a hypo brain, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds,
It's tough
and
stuff, you know?
it's so tough. And like, when I have my stomach issues, like you get to the point where like you can't have gluten, dairy, soy, alcohol, oils, all these things, gosh, my goodness, when they tried to put me on a SIBO diet, I was like, well, there's nothing fun. This is like even worse. What am I supposed to show up and eat? And you start to feel like you start to withdraw because you're like, I'm not the fun person. Nobody knows where to eat because I can't eat there. She can't eat here. We can't go here. And it just becomes like, you just start to feel like, well, I'm just not going to go out because I don't want to be that person. And so
That's
then
right.
you don't know who you are and you feel more and more alone, and it is awful.
Yes.
And if you're lucky to have a partner who's willing to like go to the mattresses all the time, that's fine. But if you have kids, if you have a stressful job, if the partner that you have or the best friends you have other things going on, it's like this still. And 20 years, that's a long time. I was very lucky that I found someone in 7 years to help me with mine. But like, even then, that's so much time that we can lose. And it's unfortunate because for whatever reason, well, for many reasons that I think we're very all aware of, the medical industry, especially in the States, and my listeners who are in Australia and Canada and Europe, you do you. Let me know if I can get a passport. But like,
well,
still,
they actually have terrible thyroid care in England and other places, so it actually really isn't
so
good. But
so it's
yes, their
almost like
healthcare is better. Yeah.
yeah. So it's almost like the world is just like not educated on what this is, and it sounds like the one place if they could go do that, they could solve fertility and they could solve depression. And not everybody, guys, don't come running at me, but like for a lot of people, instead of putting band-aids on things, we could actually create a solution for someone.
I have 4 hours with the doctor in my course. It's a 30-hour course. Okay. I mean, this thing is, like a semester in college. And, one of the modules is Palmer Kippola, who wrote a book called Beit Autoimmune. And she is about 55 years old or something like that right now. And she struggled for 20 years of her life. She got diagnosed with MS at 19. She felt like she was plugged into a light socket 24 hours a day for like a year. Okay. Horrible, horrible symptoms. She searched, and got into some functional medicine stuff. She quit gluten. Within 1 week, her stomach issues went away. But then within a month, all of her MS symptoms went away. She hasn't had one since. Okay. And they've even done brain scans on her where they could see like the scarring, and it's not even supposed to go away. Some of hers has even gone away.
That's crazy.
You can beat autoimmune, and you can beat thyroid autoimmune, which is Hashimoto's. Absolutely. And part of that is through diet. One of the things that we know with autoimmune diseases is gluten igniting antibodies, but particularly Hashimoto's, but definitely the other ones too. So yes, we know it's possible to get to the root instead of putting someone on. I mean, I know 2 people that have cured themselves of rheumatoid arthritis through food. One of the most famous ones is Seamus Mullen, who wrote a book. He was a famous chef, and he is a famous chef in New York. He was on medications, over 18 prescriptions I interviewed him for like, years, like 7 years or something like that. Total debilitated disaster. He changed his food, changed his life, and he's off all the medications and if you tested his blood, RA is gone. You test another friend of mine blood who's also a chef, RA gone.
That's crazy.
So,
that's not crazy. Like, I don't believe
but the doctors go, when they diagnose them and dealt with them all those years, those 2 people, the other one is Chef Courtney Contos. They're both chefs. The doctor said, it is what it is. You're just going to end up in a wheelchair. Yeah. And one of them was in a wheelchair. That's it. And I remember my friend going, well, can you just test it? They're like, no, it's going to be positive. You have rheumatoid arthritis.
It's unfortunate.
Horrible.
And this is where the advocacy for yourself comes in. And that's why I'm so excited that you have this course.
That's why patients write books, because our test is our testimony.
Yes. And you have your book, but also like, so I hope this inspires people. And also like, when we had Lindsay on, y'all can listen. We'll put that episode in the show notes about advocating for yourself, because she gives you tips on how to know if you have the right doctor. Like, your doctor should be doing the best they can, and that best might not be good enough for you, but they should also be willing to help you have another solution, whether it not be for them. And if they are not doing that, you have to advocate and say, thank you. I see that I've gone as far as I can with you. Where else do you recommend that I go? Or if they're not going to give you that, then you have to be your own advocate. You have to do the research to figure out who are the doctors that do this, and I know this can sound really privileged and all these things. It fucking sucks how much it costs to be a healthy in air quotes person, to be an optimally moving person. It should not be privileged to have health in this world.
No.
But you do have to do these things because it is your life. And as far as we know, we only get one time on this planet. Some people might say this is your third or fourth time, but just at least for right now, I would hate for you to go 20 years feeling some way because those are years you don't get back. You just don't.
And I'm going to add to that because there's another thing on the advocacy, which is if you learn and you become knowledgeable about what you got going on, you might be able to make a doctor who's an uninformed one practice medicine with you. This happens with all of my clients. They have tough doctors. I'll then be like, look, I'll talk to them. I've had doctors call me and be like, I don't understand this. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for not being ego ridden and thinking maybe I might learn something from someone who's not an MD, right? So I love those doctors because they're willing to learn. But a lot of them, it's because they're gone back and then they're pushing. They're like, hey, this is what I learned, da da da. And then the doctor's kind of like, I don't know, I guess it can't hurt. And they try it. So you have to be forceful, but there are certain times when you have to go, you're terrible. I'm out of here. But listen, I mean, I've got into some pretty intense conversations with some doctors over the years, and one of them I was able to convince that she was the most indoctrinated, but I think it was just my persistence and my probably confident, demanding, like that made her, and she was scared because I caught her in something she didn't know. And so, and I just want to tell this story. This is great. By the way, when I tell this story, you don't need to know anything about what the tests I'm mentioning mean. Okay, you'll get the story. I asked a doctor, I was with a patient who worked for our company who didn't speak English very well. I knew she had a reverse T3 problem. I sensed it. I just knew it. I go to the doctor with her. The endocrinologist didn't look at her, didn't ask her any questions, how she was feeling. I said, hey, I got a request for you. Can you please test this patient's reverse T3 test? And the doctor said, we don't do that. That's old school. And I said, well, it's really interesting because I just got over a reverse T3 problem myself. So it's pretty new school to me. All I'm asking you is to take a test. She said, well, fine, but I don't know how to evaluate it. And I said, did you just patronize me for asking you about a test that you're now telling me you know nothing about? That's how this goes down, Lesley.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the patient's bawling her eyes out. And she's like, well, fine, I'll test it. Can you believe it took all of that for me to, you know what that is? That's me calling you and going, Lesley, do not see the new Star Wars movie. And you go, oh, it was bad, huh? And I go, oh, no, I didn't see it. Do you see how like you don't even know anything about the test? She goes, no, that's old school. Completely discounts it because she's got too much ego to admit she might not know something. Okay. And then when I push her, she's like, well, fine, but I don't know about it. Then why didn't you? What are you?
Yeah. I mean,
By the way, the patient had a serious reverse T3 problem, guys, and I could have bet $1 million on it.
Yeah. This is where like it used to be, it still is supposed to be called practicing medicine.
That's right.
And as a Pilates instructor, we don't do perfect Pilates, we practice Pilates. And so like that to me means that like the doctors, and if for any doctors who are listening, it doesn't mean I expect perfection. What I expect is that you are willing to practice and continue to learn because there's new information out all the time. We find out that things that we believed decades ago about something is wrong. And so I don't believe, and this is why my friend who teaches people about patient advocacy, she also speaks to the doctors and she says, you are providers. Let's just change your name. You're providers and they're clients. Right. And when they're a client, you have empowerment, you have choice, you have agency, and then you can work together in collaboration with the provider. And so as the provider, if you don't know an answer, it is actually, to me, and I think to many people listening, to go, you know what, I don't know that. Let me do some research. Let me get back to you. Let me look into this. That is better than going, you don't need that. And then to find out you don't actually even know how to evaluate it. That's like, or, and that's not everybody, but that in that situation that you're talking about, it's an infuriating story that I think too many people probably can know someone or it happened to them in some other way.
Yes. Or because they don't know how to do their job and they're like, your thyroid looks fine. I had a doctor do this to me. And by the way, the thing that I'm about to say has come out of people's mouths all over the world. This has been just work out more and eat less. I had a doctor tap my gym shoes and go, just use these more. I said, mofo, I'm working out 2 hours a day. I went hiking for an hour every morning. By the way, shouldn't have been doing all that. Okay. Shouldn't have. Now I know I'd be like, oh man, dial it back. Don't do anything. Get tested right. Do the things. But I was trying to get ahead of this weight gain, which by the way, none of that working out worked. 2 hours a day, like 1,200 calories. I was doing all the stuff. I went swimming, hiking, and to the gym every freaking day. And I kept gaining weight. And so to accuse me of not working out, but again, this is what happens. And like Kara Hahn's success story as well. She, tall, skinny, wrong endocrinologist, the miscarriages, she starts getting fat and they're like, you just need to eat less. She's like, I'm training for a marathon. I know what I'm doing. I've been tall and skinny my whole life. Like, what are you talking? So it's coming from an uninformed doctor who's like, well, I'm looking at labs in a way that is so outdated. So I'm saying you're fine. Meanwhile, you're telling me that you have hypo symptoms. Now, it's the smart doctor that goes, why does this keep happening? Like my doctor and the doctor on my book and in the course, Dr. Forsman, who did say, hey, there was a day when I screwed up people probably because we didn't know better. And then you have clients keep coming and they're complaining that they're not well and they're still on thyroid. And he goes, just like you said, he's curious still. He's still geeking out like doctors used to in, medical school, trying to figure out a problem. And he's like, right? But when you have 10 minutes with someone and you're in a factory thing with an insurance company, you don't have the time for that. Now, I did go to I have insurance and I went to my local uninformed, to go in there and here's the pap smear, here's the thing, here's the mammogram, all that stuff. And I went into her with a list of tests from my functional medicine doctor. And I said, hey, look, I don't want to offend you. Just want to let you know, I wrote a book about uninformed doctors. Like, here it is. I gave her the book. And I said, listen, I work with a functional medicine doctor that doesn't take insurance. Can I give you this list of tests? And would you mind taking it?
Yeah.
Now, this is what I appreciate. She looked over the list for a few minutes and she said, I'm happy to get these tested. I just don't know what some of them are, but I'm happy to get them tested. Okay, that's a start, admitting. But here's the problem, Lesley. I would bet you $1 million right now she did not, after work, go, what are these lists of tests that some other MD is telling me to get that I don't know what they are? I went to medical school. Maybe I should look into that. I guarantee she didn't. I guarantee she got bet money on it. I know she didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? Because she didn't have time either.
Well,
so
I just went
she's
to
like, oh, fine, but she's not trying to investigate.
And that's just it. Like, that's everybody. And the problem is that we're all so busy because we don't have time. And we treat people like they're in the factory. We treat the doctors like they can just, like they could see that many patients. Like, I don't know how they could do that. So the people on the who've listened for a long time know that I still have yet to find an actual primary care doctor in Vegas. I'm just working with my amazing doctor out of California. And I do have a female doctor here that I actually like, who likes to learn and likes to teach. And she's the only person who could find my IUD, which had like moved its way to the right side, flipped upside down. Like, she's the only it took me 2 years to get someone to find it. So it was insane. I was like, look, it's in there.
You're like, I'm telling you,
I can feel it. So it's in there. So anyways, I do appreciate her a lot. But when I went to primary care doctor and I knew what tests I wanted to take because I talked to my holistic doctor. And so it's like, why wouldn't I have this primary care doctor call them in, because they'll go through my insurance, right? The thing I pay so much money for.
That's right.
And she literally poo-pooed every test I wanted. Every single test. I said, I want my hormones checked. Oh, those change all day long. It depends on the day of your cycle. I'm like, I still want them checked. I want this checked. Oh, you look fine. All these things. And I'm like, are you paying for this? So do I not understand who pays the bill here? And she was just like, well, I can order them, but they're not going to tell us anything. Well, guess what? My holistic doctor ordered them because she can. She's an MD.
And I bet they told you a lot of things.
They told me exactly what I was already feeling. They told me why I was feeling down and depressed. They told me exactly why I felt like I was losing strength. And my holistic doctor was able to, thank goodness she's an MD, to prescribe the peptides that I need to take. And we have to watch 2 numbers and just see how those change in the next 3 months being on this stuff. And hopefully they get better on their own. And if not, then we'll go do those things. But like, it's a little chicken and the egg thing there. However, it's just a little unfortunate that like, unfortunately, some people are just not going to listen to you, and you just have to go, okay, this is not the right doctor for me. She's just not, it's never going to work. I'm never going to trust her. And so I have to find a new provider. Right.
Yeah. Or you have the insurance one and you run stuff through them and deal with someone else. There's also, there's some really great doctors that do take insurance. But yeah, so listen, everyone, just right here, I know I didn't mention the list of tests. I just want to rattle off the 6 tests that everybody, you can go back and go, and I bet you they're going to be missing 1 or 2. I'm going to guarantee that right now. All right. So here they are. There's 6 tests. Okay. 2 of them are antibody tests. So you know what? If you've already ruled out that you don't have Hashimoto's, then you don't need to take the extra 2. But if you've never gotten tested for Hashimoto's, you want to rule it out, because There are some other modalities and things you can do with Hashimoto's that you wouldn't apply to someone like me who does not have Hashimoto's. I just have hypothyroidism. I don't have the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. So TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3. That's the main four. Now, that's, do I have a thyroid problem? However, you want to get the two antibodies checked if you've never gotten them checked. Now, some doctors, if you say, oh, I want you to test my Hashimoto's antibodies, they don't know that there's two of them. They only test one. You could be positive for one or not the other or both. So you got to get both. The first one is called TPO antibody. That stands for thyroid peroxidase antibody. And the second one is TG antibody. And that stands for thyroglobulin antibody. Okay. So TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, the TPO antibody, and the TG antibody. That is, do I have a thyroid problem? If you think you're hypothyroid, okay. Do I have a thyroid problem? Start there. Now, would I add other things like, yeah, should probably get an iron panel if you've been feeling hypo for a while, like da-da. You can also take 5 days of basal and afternoon temperatures and not spend a dime. You can diagnostically assess a thyroid problem from temperature.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means, and you can look it up, but basically you have to, when you do basal, you lay down, you don't even get up to pee in the morning. You don't sit up in bed. You reach over and you put the thermometer under your mouth. That's your basal temperature, right when you wake up. So again, that's like you have to plan for that because you're so used to getting up and going to the bathroom or something. You know what I mean? So you just have to lay down. It's okay that you're under your covers. Just reach over. That's your basal. That should be between 97.7 and about 98.2.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you're hypothyroid, it's going to be lower than 97.7. If you were hyperthyroid, it would be like 98.2 or 3. It would be at really top. Would be or it'd be over. It'd be like,
I think this is just fun just to do. Someone who's like, I'm just like so curious.
Yeah. And then I'm talking about a schedule for people that normally would wake up between 6 and 8. So then at that point, you would do a 3:30-ish, 3:30 afternoon temp. This is when you're just sitting around. Okay. So you have to figure out when this is, but like when you're just sitting around, you didn't take a hot shower, you didn't eat, you didn't rip up a flight of steps or smoke a bong hit. Like, okay, like whatever don't do stuff, just hang out. You can drink some water, whatever. But like for the most part, don't. You've just been doing nothing for 30 minutes. You're just sitting up. That's when you also take your temp. It should be 98.6. If it's 98.4, are you in a crisis? No. Okay. There's some fluctuations, right? It's 98, but that's what you should be. Some people will never get above 98 or even above 97 in the afternoon. So you could do like 3-5 days of this and go, now you still need to get the test because if you don't get the test, we won't know how to treat it in the right way. I guarantee out of the list that I just told you guys, your doctors have probably not tested reverse T3. It's the one that most doctors really don't know about. And it's one of the most critical tests. The other thing too is you will give this list of, this happens all the time, and this is an advocacy thing. You will give the list to your doctor and go, hey, do you mind, like you heard my thing, and you write down all the tests and you go, hey, can you test these for me? And they go, sure. You go into the lab and then you see the results and you're like, where's this? Where's that? And they didn't test that. Instead of testing free T3, they tested total T3 or T3 uptake and they didn't just test the reverse T3. And you're like, but I asked them and they said, here's what happens, guys. If they disagree with your list, they don't call you to tell you they disagree with you. They just go, you're a dumb non-doctor and I'm going to do what I want. I don't think they need them. They don't. If I asked you, Lesley, hey, can you do me that favor? And you said yes, and then you didn't do it. And I go, why? And you go, I just disagreed with it. I go, well, it would have been nice if you told me that before I expected you to do the thing. So you cannot trust that they even, so what do? You ask the phlebotomist, hi, are these tests on this list? And if not, I just need to know. I don't want you to don't even put the rubber band around my arm. Yeah. Do you know how many people have called me crying? It's horrible because it's like gaslighting, Lesley.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I asked them. They said yes, and then they didn't. Because just like that endocrinologist, they're like, they don't need reverse T3. What do they know?
Yeah.
And so this is something you have to do because now you've got to go back in and get tested again. And who wants to have a needle in their arm ever? Like,
it's such a hassle. Like, it's just such a hassle. Even if you have to fast, it's even worse. If you have to get there, it's because I'm like, okay, I'll just go there first appointment. And then you're just
got to plan the thing. You got to get your whole morning screwed, like the whole thing. Right. So that happens all the time. So please check that list because I guarantee you they're going to go.
Yeah.
Like laugh at you about it. This happens, by the way, with everything. Let's say you're starting to date someone and you're like, all right, we're going to start to do this and we're talking about it. And maybe we're going to get sexy together and let's get tested and make sure everything's cool. And you call your doctor and you're like, hey, I need an STD panel or like I want STDs. Like, if you ask them for a list of tests, and you're like, "Oh, here, I want all these tests." They'll just test like 2 of them. They go, "Oh, well, you don't need, HPV for that because or you don't need this for that, like, for herpes, because if you've never had it, then it's not" like, but you're like, "What?" Like, they just don't and that has happened to people that I know who've gone in there and they're like, "I just wanted to, like, get a simple my doctor said it was fine." They go in there, only it took, like, 2 of the 10 that was requested because that is so crazy making to me. If that
Yeah.
happened in my everyday life, I would not talk to people continue to talk to people who
Yeah.
operated like this.
Yeah. It's,
It's lying to you and it's gaslighting and it's also just so that's a real painful thing too, and now you are a couple weeks behind on getting better
yeah.
because yeah, so
Oh,
that's
I've
really
been there. I
important.
was crying in the kitchen when I found out that they didn't spend the blood. I was like just crying. And
Ugh,
so then I went to a different location, the same company, because that's the company that's in town, to different location because I was like, well, obviously that location doesn't know what it's doing. And the second location was like, oh, we don't do the kits because I brought a kit that you have to ship. Brought the kit and they're like, we don't do the kits on Fridays. I'm like, it doesn't say that on your website. I'm so sorry. Like it doesn't say
did
that
they do
on.
it? They better have done
And
it.
they said, well, I said, I'm here because you already have screwed up before. So I'm here. She's like, well, um, I was going to tell you that we could do it, but you have to ship it yourself. And I said, okay, sure. Like, where do, like, okay, we can figure that out. But like, will you spin the blood? And she said, oh, well, if you want it spun, literally, it took everything in me. I swear to God, it's 7 a.m. I haven't fucking eaten anything, right? Haven't eaten since the night before. I love breakfast. I love my coffee. I love my AG1. I love it all. And like, she goes, if you want us to spin it, it's going to be another hour. And I was like, it's seriously, I cannot
No,
believe,
you
like,
wanna
you're
yeah.
all
You're like, "I'm
terrible.
done." You're like, "I'm done with life.
I'm so
I'm done."
done. I said, I'm leaving. I'm like, you are incompetent. And I hope I never have to come to this place ever again because I cannot trust any work that you do. And I said it loud enough. I'm like, I'm sure I sound crazy to these people in the waiting room, but like, they need to know that this place doesn't know what it's doing. And so I
Right.
flew, I used points, everyone. I used points to fly to LA, used points to get a hotel, booked myself a stay,
What
like
a
a
nightmare
total
for a
nightmare
blood for a
for
blood
blood
test.
tests. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm sure my Vegas listeners, but like, Lesley, to go this person, please send me your favorite doctors. I will happily go to them. I'm sure there's other great places, but like, I'm a little shocked. And also not. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer on all of the doctors who may listen. Hi, thank you for listening. But I do hope that every
Dr.
single
Saved my life.
person is like, what if we were all curious? I'm curious in my Pilates practice. I'm curious about learning. I'm also sure doctors want to be curious and also they're fucking tired. So I feel like there's a problem from the top at squeezing all of us in. And unfortunately, the people who lose are the clients, are the patients. And that's, so I feel more badly for the clients in this case, but I do understand that like it is a issue that we all are dealing with. And in some ways, some people are dealing with better. And I'm so grateful for you, Elle. So you actually have an amazing course that you've mentioned a
I
couple
do,
times.
but I do wanna quickly tell everyone
Yeah.
that I had done Pilates many years ago. Then you interviewed me, and I got so very inspired to do Pilates,
Yeah.
and I manifested the most awesome situation. I had done Pilates near me, and I knew what was available, so I was like, "Alright, well, I'll go check back into those places again and see if I wanna go back to the same place or whatever." Turns out, a new Pilates studio had just opened 7 weeks prior. It's in the perfect location. It's the exact kind of thing I want. Their pricing, payment structure was, like, so great, not some bullshit that the other place did, and all this stuff, so I started doing it, like, a couple weeks out, I reached out to you, and I was like, "Oh my god." I love it so much, I can't even stand it.
Oh
I
my
cannot
God.
wait to have one of those machines. It is so much fun. So thank you for inspiring me, re-inspiring me. And then when I looked for it, and then very shortly after that, their monthly unlimited, she's like, "Hey, Valentine's Day special, like 60% off our monthly unlimited." I was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing that." So I did that and I was like, I'm just gonna just gonna do it for now for a while and just see how it goes. But so much fun and I love it. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm on a mission for more bodies to do Pilates. So that makes me so happy. And I love that you could do it in person and it's close, like, and that you're going as often as you are. Cause that's where you feel all the good stuff. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
yesterday I was like in a bad mood because I couldn't get on my session with my teacher and I, and that was technology's fault. So I went and did my own session and I had so much fun and I felt in a much better mood afterwards. I was like, this is why Pilates exists. So you can just feel better when you're done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It's so good. And especially, like I'm in my late 40s. Like this is yeah, you
Yeah.
don't you don't take care of this stuff now, the flexibility and all the different stuff, like it's a forced way to get the stretching, the core, the everything, as you know. It's just anyway, it feels so good. So anyway, thank you so much. But
Oh,
yes, I do.
you're
So
welcome.
what I do is I have everyone can get 15% off of my thyroid course if you really need to dive into this by using the code Lesley at checkout. Just Leslie's first name, the way she
Yeah.
spells it, Lesley, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll get you 15% off. You can go to you can just go to ultimatethyroidcourse.com and check that out. Now, here's the thing. When you go to ultimatethyroidcourse.com, there is juicy stuff on that page that might help you solve your problem without even taking my course, guys. Okay, like not kidding. There are some testimonials, there's doctor clips, there's some things that might spawn something for you to go, you never know. I've had people hear interviews with me and be like, I heard you, I went to da da da, fixed it, thank you. I'm like, great. I'm
Love
not
that.
look, everyone wants to sell books and stuff and products, but and I know you, if there was someone struggling, you would help them recover with Pilates, probably out of the kindness of your heart, because whatever, right? So we just want, like, I just want people to be better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was anyway, you could just go down the page, all the testimonials, audio clips, etc. Then I also have a free thyroid masterclass as well. I still would go to the Ultimate Thyroid course page because there's great, audio clips on there, but you can just go to freethyroidmasterclass.com. And that is a 2-hour video of me explaining the thyroid, all the hormones, everything, all the stuff. And it involves a free thyroid guide that also includes a guide to all of the healing diets like paleo, carnivore, low FODMAP, low histamine. It gives you a guide to paleo, some exercise regimens, some potential meal plans based on, male, female, sort of give you an idea how would a week or two look like doing paleo or a carnivore or whatever. And it also in that free thyroid guide with the free thyroid masterclass, it's just part of the downloads that I have. There's a healing guided meditation download, but there's also this free thyroid guide with the diets. And in that guide is not only the test, it's here are the list of questions to go call an office to even suss out whether they are dum-dums or whether they might know what they're talking about.
I love that.
Now it's not foolproof, but it's enough to go, well, I can definitely cancel that one because they definitely don't know that. So it's a guide to like, how do you get your blood tested? Should you take your medication before? What time of day? Everything that you need to know. And that's all free at freethyroidmasterclass.com. But if you really have been suffering for a while, you really need to dig into this, then you need to take the course. And it's less than, especially with the discount, but it's way less than a functional medicine appointment with a doctor. And
Yeah.
it's also a way to get discounted sessions with me, because otherwise some people, it's expensive to coach with me privately if you want to call me to talk to me one-on-one with thyroid. But if you take the course, you're getting the knowledge, plus then you get like 85% off an hour with
Yeah.
me,
Oh my God.
right? Like a 30-minute session, it's like 85%. So you're getting both. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
Now it's fine if someone wants to call me and pay a big hefty sum for that, that's fine. But I want you to learn this, because if you have this thing, you need to go, and you might need to go back to it. You might have a second problem a few years from now. Maybe the thyroid hormones you were taking work, but now something went wrong. You got to go back to my course, and now you got to fix that problem, because I had to
Yeah.
know how to fix that second problem. So it's just
This is
it's
amazing.
basically everything I've ever, and it's me going through it's over 30 hours, right? There's like 22 modules. In some of those, there's me literally going through all of the thyroid hormone dosing protocols for all of the different hormone combinations. It's me going through 25 examples of blood work showing you here's this person, she's 45, this is what's going on. How do you look at this?
Yeah.
So that you start to learn, you're like going, oh, okay, I get it. I get it.
You are phenomenal. Thank you for this generous offer. Everybody
You're
who,
awesome.
if this touched you, if this makes you curious, go check it out. And also check out the free stuff. Like
Yes.
I am someone who also has like life has changed by just a nugget of information. So really quick before I let you go, you've given us so many things, but you know how we like a bold, executable, intrinsic, targeted step to be it till we see it. What do you have for us, Elle?
For what?
Just like anything like to their what it's like for even their thyroid, or just like to take messy action, a quick little action step they could take for themselves today.
Perseverance pays.
Mm.
Always. The only reason I'm here is because I would not let up. And it's usually people that end up with me. They're also that. They've been searching. They found it, right? I was not willing to give up on myself, and you can't either. Okay. But if you've already found me and you're listening to this, then you don't need to, because you're getting the right information. But spread the word. And also, I would say once you heal from something or you gain something that's knowledgeable, just help someone with it who's suffering with that. You know what I mean? I've done so many interviews. I'll hear someone say they got a problem, and I'll go, oh, you know what? Hold on a second. I interviewed someone who wrote a book on that. You know what I mean? So just do your best. You don't have to coach everybody, but help people out, because you are going to meet, especially if you're a woman listening, you're going to meet tons of other women with, I bet you half your friends are on thyroid hormone replacement and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can share this episode with them, everybody.
That's right.
Tag Elle Russ. Go check out her free tools, her book, and also her course if this is something that speaks to you, or share it with a friend. And, let us know how this affected you. Let us know what changed you, what maybe sparked something, a conversation with your doctor. And until next time, be it till you see it. That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of the Bloom Podcast Network.
It's written, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Kroll.
It is produced and edited by the epic team at Diseño.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Chofi.
Special thanks to Melissa Solomon for creating our visuals and Samena Velazquez for our transcriptions.
Also to Angelina Herrico for adding all the content to our website, and finally to Meredith Kroll for keeping us all on point and on time.